Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of Daily Dose, the daily newspaper analysis we will be taking for 1st and 2nd September today. Hope in these 15-16 days, whatever news pieces we have covered, I hope that and I wish that you just you are getting an idea how to link the common snippets or the normal snippets with your UPSC preparation, which is going to enhance your dynamism in your answer writing, as well as certain important points which will make you able to connect you to the prelims question paper or prelims strategy. So we'll be dealing with today's news. The first news is HC for High Court for portal to help students get gadgets. So this is, you can say, a judicial intervention or a judicial innovation where the judiciary, the Kerala High Court, has led into this initiative where it will provide, it is coming up with an idea to end or to just narrow down the gap, the digital gap between the students who are not being able to go through or who are not being able to get the lessons through the digital media. So the court asked Kerala government to inform it of its feasibility. So you can take an example of judicial activism, though it's not a complete activism. It's not against executive or legislature, but it's a kind of activism in terms of providing social protection, right? So the court has asked the government to inform of its feasibility. So these kinds of examples you can use in ethics, you can use it in your mains answers, that how judicial intervention is required, or you can also provide it as an example where the state is not showing that kind of eligibility or that kind of activism which is required, and judiciary has to intervene. So this is one kind of example. The second example where you can provide it, the second kind of dimension which can be got from here is that how the judiciary is playing a very active role in bridging down the gaps or narrowing the gaps between the social protection activities which are required by the society, but the society is not getting, right? So such kind of examples, you should be able to use it. It's not just a kind of snippet which you see and just go through it. Rather, you have to brainstorm in what all circumstances you can use such case studies, you can use such examples, right? You can use it in your mains answer or in your essay writings, which will provide an enhancement, which provides an awareness that how you are being able to apply whatever things you are seeing or you are reading every day, right? So this is important from that perspective only. बहुत ज़्यादा इसको detail में नहीं देखना है. It's just that you have to brainstorm कि this heading could be applied in what all situations and what all circumstances, right? So it has asked the Kerala High Court has asked the state government to look into the prospect of setting up a website with the assistance of Kerala State IT Mission, where the needy school students can register so that the individuals or companies or non-resident Indians, non-governmental organizations could contribute to the purchase of mobiles and digital gadgets to supply them. So this is to bridge the digital gap, especially during the time of pandemic, when this whole era of pandemic has arrived in the country. At that moment of time, such kind of interventions are required, right? So this becomes important from that perspective. The next news is cracks in the glass ceiling. The term glass ceiling, you might be knowing that under certain circumstances, especially in Indian perspective or the world over, if we see, a kind of glass ceiling have been created. So what is glass ceiling is that in any organization or in any kind of society, above certain ranks, the women or certain section of society cannot go above that limit, right? एक line सी create हो गई, एक ceiling सी create हो गई है, that you know that you can reach there, but you cannot go beyond it. आपको चीजें दे दी गई हैं. It shows कि it's there, ठीक है, दिखेगा आपको. It's kind of transparent कि आपको दिख रहा है कि आप वहां तक पहुंच सकते हो, but you cannot reach because there is a ceiling. There's a glass ceiling beyond which you can look, but you cannot reach, right? Especially in terms of female population of India and the world over, in every society we see. So this is a kind of an enhancement of patriarchy where the glass ceiling effect is so prominent, it's so visible that the women in the organizations, if you see कितनी women हैं जो CEO हैं या कितनी women हैं जो बहुत top most position पे पहुंच गई हैं, so you will find this is very prominent, right? So in that perspective, now there are cracks in the glass ceiling which is appearing. So इस तरह के direct essays भी आ सकते हैं, or you can use it in answers and in essays. So 3 of the 9 new judges sworn in the Supreme Court of India on Tuesday, they are women. The elevation of 3 women judges is significant as the share of women has always remained poor in the judiciary. Judiciary, which is one of the most balanced organization, even over there, itna stark difference hai. You can imagine, right? Judiciary, the most balanced institution, if we say, right? They know all the laws, they know everything is quite known to them, quite visible to them, but still there is a stark difference over there between the gender gaps, right? So in that circumstance, in that perspective, this glass ceiling appears to be cracking because of the swearing in of these 3 women judges in the Supreme Court for the first ever, and we might be getting the first ever CJI, the Chief Justice of India, the first woman Chief Justice of India. Right, the first ever women judge in SC was appointed in 1989, 39 years after the Apex Court came into existence. See the level, right? Then, since then, only 10 women, including those sworn in on Tuesday, have become Supreme Court judges in the Apex Court. Representation at the High Court have been no better, with only 11% of the judges being women. The lower judiciary fares slightly better क्योंकि वहाँ पे कई सारे factors आ जाते हैं, like the state conduct their own exams, like PCSJ, Public Service Commission, judiciary exams are being held by the state service commissions, right? So over there, these things appear to be fairly better, but not to the amount that is needed, not to that extent, which is required, right? So Justice B.V. Nagratna, she might be our first Chief Justice of India, first woman Chief Justice of India. She was sworn in. Then next is Justice Hema Kohli and Justice Bela Trivedi. So if you see the representation in Supreme Court, this whole data is going to provide you a very dark picture of what kind of representation we are getting in our judiciary, what kind of representation we have in our parliaments, what kind of representation we have in our whole organization as a country where we are, where we stand. In gender gap, if you see the reports from World Economic Forum, from different World Bank and everyone, so over there also you can see the stark differences. That is a kind of patriarchy we have in India, right? So go through these 2 data sets I have provided you. ये सारी चीजें दिमाग में थोड़ा सा बैठा के रखो. एक approximate data you should have in your mind, ठीक है? These things only authenticate your answers. I repeat it again and again, over and over again. I repeat that these things are going to authenticate your answer. That's why I provide the data sets. Please go through them. Note down the important ones. Approximate data at least pata hona chahiye, right? Next is managing natural resources. I found this article very intriguing. So Meghalaya, one of the northeastern state which is known for having most of the wettest places on the world. Monsoon earlier, Cherrapunji earlier, Monsoon later on. But that state, those places are facing a water crisis. Right? So this attracted me, and I got through this ki kya hai ye news article. So I got through this, and all the important points I'm going to discuss over here. So the state is known to have most of the spots. The state known to have spots designated to be the wettest places on the earth is now facing a severe water crisis. Point of concern, right? Natural resources management thus becomes critical in this context. Now, this is not a new concept, this natural resource management, especially in northeastern states, if you see. Meghalaya is the best example where community development programs are working very successfully. Tripura is another state where community development or community participation is seen quite prominently, quite distinctly. And in other states also, especially in the northeastern states, the traditional knowledge management is creating quite a lot an impact, right? अब इसको कहाँ कहाँ पे कैसे यूज करोगे ये ब्रेनस्टॉर्म करना है, बट स्पेसिफिकली मेघालय के केस में this is a very good example of community participation, right? So this is not a new concept where natural resource management has to be developed, has to be done by the community, especially in Meghalaya, where the traditional practices on sustainable use of natural resources, they have been passed down from one generation to another. This indigenous knowledge now began to slowly fade, however, owing to the population growth, the quest for unsustainable developmental activities, which is always a point of conflict, especially when the reason comes for development versus environmental sustainability, right? The development versus displacement debate, and indiscriminate exploitation of natural resources, among other factors. Another roadblock to natural resource management was of knowledge inaccessibility among the rural communities. Now, this whole article is focused on this knowledge inaccessibility. कि नॉलेज ना होने की वजह से what all challenges, what all limitations are coming to the people, and because of that, how these people are not being able to do what they want to, right? Whatever is required, they are not getting that, and knowledge inaccessibility की वजह से even their traditional knowledge is getting faded away, along with other factors which I have discussed above, right? So what should be done? Now, reactivating the community's connection to natural resources and enabling them to tackle the resource crisis become a priority for the state. In that perspective, the state has signed with, along with World Bank, it supported the Meghalaya community-led landscape management program. This can be used as a case study, especially in geography and in other subjects, subject papers also, that how these assistants could provide, and this kind of awareness could provide a very good result, right? So, under this whole community development landscape management program, what all things have been done? Firstly, a cross-functional team with diverse expertise have been created. This team worked with many facilitators amongst the community of that particular village where certain kind of developmental activities are taking place and resource management is needed. So they worked with facilitators and empowered them with digital infrastructure. So how? They are providing a link between technology and they are creating a line between or connection between technology and the traditional knowledge. ताकि जो knowledge inaccessibility की बात हो रही थी जिसकी वजह से limitations were coming, they can be faded away or they can be went. They just get faded, right? So Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, that is the MG-NREGA, became the main scheme channelizing the resources to impact poor households so that there was a systematic convergence of all the departments such as agriculture, horticulture, soil and water conservation. तो इस तरह से टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज करके एक कॉमन प्लेटफॉर्म दे हैव क्रिएटेड, एक सेंटर ऑफ information they have created and accordingly disperse kiya data, and then the people were coming in front because they are getting knowledge, they are getting accessibility to the technology. तो उन्हें दिख रहा था कि there is some vision, there is some future to it. So obviously people will get encouraged to it, right? Next, leveraging the technology, more than 2,000 village community facilitator they have been trained and are working towards climate change reversal. तो जब पार्टिसिपेशन बढ़ेगा, जब टेक्नोलॉजी आएगी, जब विजन मिलेगा, तो ऑब्वियसली पीपल विल कम फॉरवर्ड, राइट? एंड दिस इज व्हाट दे हैव डन. दे डिडंट प्रोवाइड एनी काइंड ऑफ रिसोर्स टू देम. दे जस्ट आस्क्ड देम कि भाई हम टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, रिसोर्स कैसे संभालना है, नाउ इट्स योर ड्यूटी, वी विल टीच यू, वी विल प्रोवाइड यू ऑल द बेसिक infrastructure. Now it's your responsibility how you are going to create the vision out of it. That's what they are doing. That's what they are encouraged for, right? So the idea is to bring around at least 14,000 to 18,000 community facilitators. This has been made possible with the help of digital applications like participant digital attestation. तो technology का use कैसे हो सकता है to lead a community through certain resource management planning. This is a quite a successful example of it, right? These tools, these digital tools, they help create a free flow of knowledge without hierarchy. Obviously, digital knowledge is something which can be made accessible to everyone, which can reach everyone, those who have the mobile phones, those who have the digital infrastructure with them. यहाँ पे कोई kind of hierarchy नहीं रहेगी. What information I am getting, that you are also getting, right? So there will be no hierarchy and it will empower the communities to overcome the knowledge barriers which they were facing earlier. Technology empowers with real-time data, which in turn results in better program governance, transparency and accountability. Governance का एक बहुत बड़ा example यहाँ पे you can see, right? Communities are now able to articulate the complexities of their problems through scientific lens and create their own natural resource management plans. This is a successful example. This is a very good case study which can be used in your governance paper 2, right? जहाँ पे community development and all these things are required. तो उसके लिए ये बहुत बेहतर case study you can use. तो छोटा सा एक कुछ example के तौर पे you can use, right? Next is discipline lawmakers, says Venkaiah Naidu. So our vice president and the chairman of Rajya Sabha, he said that discipline lawmakers, it's in the hand of the citizens. You are responsible for selecting your lawmakers, and now it's your responsibility to make them disciplined. You have the power, you have the encouragement, right? So he urges the voters to identify the disruptors and name and shame them. Now see, एक leadership का vision होना चाहिए किसी भी इंसान में, right? Any person should have a leadership vision. और वो आता कहाँ से है? With your experiences. Now he is a very experienced leader, and on that basis he came out with this idea कि भाई choose आप कर रहे हो, तो now it's your responsibility to discipline them if they are not disciplined. We can't just move away with our problems, right? You just can't blame everyone. किसी को भी इल्जाम लगाना बहुत आसान होता है, but it's your responsibility. If you are blaming that person, you should know the problem, you should tell the solution to that person. कि अगर आप प्रॉब्लम क्रिएटर हो तो सोल्यूशन भी आपके पास ही है. यू शुड प्रोवाइड द सोल्यूशन टू दैट पर्सन, राइट? सो he said that he exhorted to voters to discipline the 5,000 elected representatives in parliament, in legislative assemblies and in legislative councils by naming and shaming the disruptors. Those who go for corruption, those who are involved in rape cases, those who are involved in some heinous activities, you should name and shame them. Disrupted and dysfunctional legislators can disrupt the lives of the people and dreams of the nation. Then calling the campaign Mission 5000, he also prescribed the possible action that the public can take. Various elements of this campaign could be to identify the disruptors and raise the same when such lawmakers visit respective constituencies and areas, to launch Mission 5000 social media handles constituency or state-wise and post the names of disruptors with the comments. So now we have so many tools with us. Social media is one of the platform जिसका सबसे ज़्यादा use भी होता है और सबसे ज़्यादा misuse भी किया जा सकता है. तो why not, if we have the possibility, go into the positive direction, right? जब Twitter है हमारे पास, जब WhatsApp है हमारे पास, जब Facebook है हमारे पास, तो why can't we use it for some good use, right? For some good purpose. So he said that utilize these platforms to know the disruptions, and to blame and shame them, ताकि एक point of time पे तो इंसान को realize होगा that yes, I am wrong, right? So these kind of ethical conduct, या इसको बोल सकते हैं कि how to persuade people. This is a kind of persuasion which is needed, which is required. As a democracy, we have moved away so long, right? मतलब हम लोग बहुत successfully from one year to another, मतलब different years, we have transitioned very smoothly. We have shifted. We always say that West has a very mature democracy. We are not that kind of mature. But from where to start? It's from us, right? So this is the time. He said that in the context of the recent monsoon session, which was washed out because of impasse between the government and the opposition on holding a debate on Pegasus cyber attack. So on the last 2 days of the session, opposition protests turned out violent in Rajya Sabha as contentious bills like the General Insurance Business Nationalization Amendment Bill were passed, ignoring demands of the scrutiny by the Parliamentary Committee. अब देखो ये सारी चीजें कॉन्टेक्स्ट इनका कुछ भी हो, यू हैव टू यूटिलाइज इन योर मेन्स आंसर. ठीक है, इस पे क्वेश्चंस खुद से तुम्हें सोचना है. यू हैव टू ब्रेनस्टॉर्म व्हाट काइंड ऑफ, सो पार्लियामेंट्री डिस्ट्रप्शंस पे क्वेश्चन कैन कम, या हाउ टू टैकल द पार्लियामेंट्री डिस्ट्रप्शंस, हाउ द वोटर्स आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर सच काइंड फॉर जस्ट मूविंग अवे विथ सच काइंड ऑफ डिस्ट्रप्शंस. तो ये सारी चीजें ब्रेनस्टॉर्म करके and when you go through the news piece तो दिमाग में चलने लगती हैं चीजें, right? You have to make a question out of it and the answers are there in this, right? तो इस तरह से dimensions create होते जाएंगे. Next, these two pieces, that is the one that IMD forecast foiled by 24% rain shortfall. So August mein this was the predictions which were made by IMD, and in September the IMD said that above normal rain in September. So these two pieces I am covering it together. Now this is important from geography paper 1 के हिसाब से and also in prelims कि क्यों deficit rainfall है and September can get above normal rainfall. So these things. So far from the forecast, normal monsoon in August, India ended the month with a 24% shortfall. So IMD के data में there was an error of above 5%. Predictions में above 5% का error था. It said that it will be above normal, but it was 24% deficient. So this brings India's overall monsoon rainfall deficit to 9%, just a percentage point shy of what would be considered to be deficient rainfall. Now, in this news piece, what they have said that there are a lot of things, there are a lot of factors which led to this deficit rainfall. So, I want you all to go through those reasons. That is the key reason for August monsoon failure has been the extended break in rainfall from August 8 to 18. So, we always talk about, whenever you read about the monsoon ka pura cycle, we read about the break in monsoon, right? उस टाइम पीरियड के लिए ब्रेक होता है मॉनसून में एंड देन अगेन इट गेट इट स्पेस बट दिस टाइम व्हाट हैपेंड देयर वाज दिस ब्रेक वाज क्वाइट फॉर अ लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम राइट एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट द डेफिशिएंट रेनफॉल अकर्ड सो वी हैड एक्सटेंडेड ब्रेक इन द रेनफॉल दैट लेड टू दिस डेफिसिट then rest of the things that the other reasons which were stated for this depressions for this kind of deficit was depressions on the decline. So given the influence of ocean surface temperatures, we talk about sea surface temperatures, you would have read about it, is SSTs. Then we have Indian Ocean dipole, we have El Nino. So El Nino may not be a reason for this time, but Indian Ocean dipole and sea surface temperatures are two of the reasons which led to this whole depression, shift in depression from the Indian side, from the Indian region to the Eastern Indian Ocean side, right? So there were influence of ocean surface temperatures on the monsoon. Meteorological forecasts in June were of neutral conditions in the Central Pacific, implying that these would not have a bearing on the monsoon. Central Pacific basically El Nino wala situation create ho jata hai, right? And there is Modoki, right? So Modoki is also one of the form of this whole. Three things are there: El Nino, La Nina, then we have Indian Ocean dipole and this Modoki form. So you have to go through these things and where they are most effective, in what regions, in what areas, and how they are impacting Indian monsoon. ये सारी चीजें अब clear होनी चाहिए, right? So we had this neutral conditions. We had expected neutral conditions in Central Pacific, implying that these would not have a bearing on the monsoon. The Indian Ocean too was not expected to contribute. Wind-bearing depressions in the Bay of Bengal, coupled with moisture from the Arabian Sea, usually inject surges of rain over the central India. But this did not happen and did not salvage the break that conditions, making the whole deficient in rainfall, right? Other meteorologists, they said that large effects of global warming is also impacting the monsoon rainfall. The number of rain-bearing depressions in the Bay of Bengal was declining, and pre-monsoon cyclones such as Taukte, that veered very close to Mumbai, possibly altered the heat distribution patterns in the whole Indian Ocean region. So, ये सारे reasons आपको पता होने चाहिए, because directly the question can come in your prelims with these kind of statements. पता होना चाहिए कि link कैसे करना है इसको, right? And mains में तो सीधा answer है. Related to this now, above normal rain in September forecasted by IMD. So they said that though we had a deficit in August, but it can be covered or it can be balanced with above normal rain in September. This has been forecasted. Again, there is a surplus in the south. They said that there is a surplus in the southern region. So this spurt in September will help sowing in central India, which is seeing a large rain deficit, but would be insufficient to completely bridge the nearly 9% shortfall in whatever happened in the August time, right? The rainfall averaged over the country as a whole during September is most likely to be above normal, above 10%. Considering the expected above normal rainfall activities during September, the current deficiency is very likely to reduce and accumulated seasonal rainfall during 1st June to 30th September. Now, in this also, there was this reason why a deficiency occurred in August. So negative dipole, the factors that caused the August deficit was a negative Indian Ocean dipole characterized by a warmer Eastern Ocean. Was warmer Eastern, suppose this is India, right? Now, if we consider this as Indian Ocean, so this will be Eastern Indian Ocean, this will be western part of the Indian Ocean. So Indian Ocean dipole positive होता है जब western side is warmer and eastern side is colder, and Indian Ocean dipole negative होता है when this becomes colder and this becomes warmer, right? So we had a negative dipole, that is the warmer eastern Indian Ocean and colder closer to Indian coast. जब यहाँ पे cold हो जाएगा, यहाँ पे colder environment आ जाएगा, that means the rain bearing winds will get attracted towards the eastern side of the Indian Ocean. ठीक है, temperature अगर high रहता है तो pressure will be low, that means this becomes attractive or this becomes a converging point, right? लेकिन अगर temperature low रहा, यानी यहाँ पे अगर temperature decreases, western Indian Ocean जो है, if it becomes colder, that means the pressure is high and the rain bearing winds will be attracted towards the eastern Indian Ocean. So this leads to negative dipole. ठीक है, so which is considered unhelpful for the monsoon. Obviously monsoon के लिए क्या चाहिए, rain bearing winds को attraction point चाहिए, but this is becoming a divergence point, right? Divergence point बन जाता है, so that's why it leads to such kind of deficit in rainfall. It leads to such deficit in rainfall. Also, there were no significant depressions that pushed the rain-bearing winds from Bay of Bengal in August, unlike the 2 or 3 that were usual for the month. The Central Equatorial Pacific, that is this is the wave, this is the equatorial region में अगर पूरा map देखो तो equatorial region में Central Equatorial Pacific current, warm current flows through it, जो कि हमारे monsoon को enhance करता है. So the Central Equatorial Pacific was expected to have a cooling trend towards September, and this could be favorable for the monsoon. The IMD has formally adopted a dynamic modeling approach whereby the weather conditions are simulated and projected into the future by supercomputers. So short term के लिए तो such kind of simulations become very predictable or very accurate. But long term predictions में these kind of simulations are not working properly. So we are moving towards, मतलब we are seeing through कि certain new kind of technologies or advancement can come so that we can have an accurate long term projections, right? So these kind of data is required. तो ये सारी चीजें थोड़ा सा अपने माइंड में क्लियर रखना if things come in your exam. Next is Kerala Panchayat Office bans Sir Madam, right? So this is again, I found it important from in ethics especially, where this whole system of hierarchy which is created between the citizens and the civil servants has to end. This is kind of colonial hangover which we are facing, which we are going through. That has to be ended. And the Panchayat, the Kerala Panchayat had come up with this idea that no more Sir and Madam will be used. Instead of that, they will be using the common, in their common parlance, Didi or Bhaiya or whatever thing they call Chechi or Cheta, right? So they will be, there is kind of this ending of colonial hangover or kind of ending of hierarchy, so that there can be a linkage or there should not be any communication gap between the people and the civil servants. Such kind of thing should come up in other areas also, and Kerala we know is one of the most advanced, most forward state in terms of these things. So if it comes with this idea, it can provide a good example to other states also, especially in the local governance infrastructure, in the local governance cases, and it can be applied in the whole community, in this whole, in other states also. This can be replicated, right? This was important from this. Ladakh adopts a state animal and bird. So important from prelims perspective. Snow leopard is a state animal, and black-necked crane. These two are critically endangered. So just go through their other critically endangered. Go through the other unique qualities that they have, because question can come on these two animals, right? So you have to go through it. These two are critically endangered. This is the snow leopard is state animal and black-necked crane is state bird of Ladakh. Next is Meghalaya scraps power projects post protests. This piece of news, I have taken it from your paper 2 perspective because it provides how community awareness, right, या फिर public intervention और pressure group, ये सारी चीजें हमारे पेपर 2 में, right? So pressure groups, community awareness, public intervention किस तरह से state को force कर सकता है if they are on the right footing, if these pressure groups are quite right in their approach to come up with certain ideas, to come up with certain developmental activities जहाँ पे government is not seeing the disadvantages but people can come up with the ideas जहाँ पे इन चीजों को certain kind of negative developmental activities could be stopped, right? ऐसा एग्जाम्पल, सबसे फेमस एग्जाम्पल जो कोंड ट्राइब्स का उड़ीसा में होता है अगेंस्ट द पॉस्को स्टील प्रोजेक्ट, दैट इज ऑल्सो टेकन इन अ वेरी गुड taken as a very good example in pressure groups. So this is again a second example which you can quote. So the Meghalaya government has scrapped an agreement with private power developers to execute the proposed 210 Ungot hydroelectric project following the protests. Right, so people have the Joint Action Plan Committee of local pressure groups is wary of the ambiguity of the announcement as the government has sought public hearings on the project a year after it was said to have been terminated. So statement, certain these small things are not needed. You can use this example as a whole in anywhere which is required, which if a question comes on pressure group or something. अगेन यहाँ पे प्रिलिम्स के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है इंडियाज क्लियरेस्ट रिवर, दैट इज दिस उनगॉट रिवर, राइट? सो द गवर्नमेंट हैज डिफेंडेड इट्स प्लान टू डैम उनगॉट, आर्ग्युबली इंडियाज cleanest river. The dam was proposed. Now this river is very clear. You can see the pictures of this. This river is so clear that you can see right beneath it, right? सारी चीजें एकदम ट्रांसपेरेंट सी होती है. The water is so transparent that you can clearly see down what all things are there. You can see the stones, you can see the phytoplanktons, everything. That water is so clear. And really it's visible. I have seen that, right? So it is India's cleanest river. The dam was proposed to have been executed by cash-strapped Meghalaya Energy Corporation Limited at a site in coal-rich East Jaintia Hills district. But more than a dozen villages downstream in the West Khasi Hills district opposed it. So go through this whole river और वहाँ के other ecosystem के बारे में थोड़ा सा पढ़ लेना. Prelims में question can be expected. Next is China opens first road rail transport link to Indian Ocean, right? तो मेंस के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है दैट व्हाट विल बी इट्स इम्पैक्ट ऑन इंडिया एज अ होल, राइट? प्रीलिम्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है कि कौन कौन से लिंकेजेस हैं जहां से शुरू होने वाला है, राइट? सो दिस यांगोन एयरपोर्ट एयर स्ट्रिप से कनेक्ट होगा, सिंगापुर से आएगा, ठीक है, थ्रू इट्स साउथ चाइना सी. The whole trade link जो बनेगा वो ऐसा होगा कि साउथ चाइना सी से it will come to Singapore, from Singapore to Yangon Airport, Myanmar. Then there will be a road link from Yangon to Linkang, and from Linkang to Chengdu there will be a rail link. So basically it is a road rail link, and through the sea route it's coming. So they are saying that transport corridor involves a road rail link. Goods from Singapore reached Yangon, arriving by ship through Andaman Sea of Northeast, and then from there it will go through a road to this Linkang and then to Chengdu, right? So this is a kind of connection which will be made. तो इन सारे regions को अच्छे से देख लेना mapping में, and what will be its implications on India, ये important बन जाएगा, right? Next, 200 army personnel for Zapad exercise. So this exercise becomes important. Especially prelims के लिए. So Zapad exercise is basically China, Pakistan and Russia, right? So it's a multinational exercise between China, Pakistan and Russia. That's important from prelims. Next, over 4 billion don't have social protection, said by United Nations. So recently a report had come that over 4 billion people in the world, they don't have any kind of social protection, right? तो यहाँ पे प्रीलिम्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इंपॉर्टेंट है कि सोशल प्रोटेक्शन में अंडर यूएन डेफिनेशन व्हाट ऑल थिंग्स कम, ठीक है, because they had asked once in 2018 I think that what comes as a human resource. ठीक है, ह्यूमन रिसोर्स का डेफिनेशन क्या हो सकता है और व्हाट ऑल थिंग्स आर इंक्लूडेड. तो इन दैट पर्सपेक्टिव इट बिकम्स इंपॉर्टेंट कि सोशल प्रोटेक्शन के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में व्हाट ऑल थिंग्स आर included. So UN's International Labour Organization said that 4.1 billion people were living without any kind of social safety nets. Social protection includes access to healthcare, income security measures related to old age like pensions and all, unemployment, sickness, disability, work injury, maternity, or the loss of the main breadwinner in a family, as well as extra support for families with children. तो ये definition important हो जाती है यहाँ पे आपके prelims point of view से, ठीक है. And rest of the things तो you can quote in your exam, even quote it in your answers कि 4.4 billion population is doesn't have a social protection or doesn't have a security net. यहाँ से mains में you can utilize it. So with this, we end up our lecture today. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time. Thank you, class.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civil's Daily.